Hi guys, TJ here. So I'm going to be breaking down some information for you today on serviced accommodation. Green fingers. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today was how to make money from serviced accommodation. And I wanted to hit you up with 5 of my main ways that you can make money from serviced accommodation. And I'm going to try my best to actually note it down on the whiteboard. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is location. That saying will always ring true. Location, location, location. If you want to make money from serviced accommodation, you have to consider the location in which you are taking on the property. If you're in central London, of course you stand a greater chance of doing well. If you're in central Birmingham, you stand a greater chance of doing well. Liverpool, Manchester, there are a number of places that pretty much guarantee, in quotes, that you will do okay in serviced accommodation. But there are some remote places that you're not going to do okay. So again, the location is going to play a significant part in whether you are going to make money in your serviced accommodation business. So number 1. Number 2, I think it's so important to actually consider is negotiation. So when you're talking to a landlord or an agent or a developer and you're discussing the viability of your serviced accommodation business, you have to get into the habit of negotiating on the rent. You have to understand that the rental price in a certain area is typically taken from the going rate in the area. And in some cases, by negotiating an extra £100, £200, maybe £300 off on your rent, that's going to increase your profit. Now, I have to say this, there are some deals that work that you do not have to even negotiate on the rent. But if you're going to be in business, get in the habit of negotiating on every single thing, because the extra £50 off, an extra £100 off per month saves you and potentially profits you at least £1,200 per year. So location and negotiation is your number 2. So 1 and 2. Number 3, and I want you to really understand this. So number 3 is understand, let me write this here, and I hope you can see it. Your target market. Understand who your target market is. So there are 4 different types of people that use serviced accommodation. So contractors, corporates, groups, and tourists. So contractors, corporates, groups, tourists. You have to be able to analyze whether you're able to target corporates in your area, whether it's a contractor driven area, whether you're going to attract a lot of tourists in that area, whether it's also viable for groups. So 1, 2, and 3 is your most ideal. Now, one thing and one tip that you might be able to utilize to help you make quick assessments of a specific area is to factor in which one of those 1, 2, and 3 is in your area. So let me give you an example. If you're in central London, for example, you will be able to target groups, you will be able to target tourists, and you will be able to target corporates. So again, out of 3, out of 4, you're going to hit that on the head. But if you're in somewhere else, you might only be targeting contractors. So again, that gives you some indication of how likely you are to make money from that business. So let's just reiterate this just for understanding purposes. Location, most important. Negotiating on the rent or negotiating on the cost. And understanding who your potential target market is out of the 4 that I've just mentioned previously. Number 4. Your ability to analyze your per nights. So let's go down here. Number 4. Per night. Let me just write it for you. Your ability to factor your per nights. You have to know potentially how much you're going to be generating from a specific location and specific property before you take on that property. You have to be certain that you're going to be generating £50, £60, £150, £200, £250 per night before you take on that property, and that helps with your negotiation. However, if you fall under the trap that you believe you can take on any property and you will make money from any property, you're not going to negotiate and you're not going to factor your per nights, and you're going to fall into a big trap and get yourself in some trouble. So again, reiterating, location, negotiation, target market. So understanding whether it's a corporate, whether it's a tourist, whether it's a group, whether it's a contractor. And then number 4, understanding your per nights. Then the 5th one is this. And this is the biggest mistake that most people make when it comes down to serviced accommodation. Because what they do is they work just on what we call headline figures. Headline figures are your biggest mistake. And this is what cripples a number of businesses, and especially property entrepreneurs, because they factor just the headline figures and they forget to take care of what we call associated costs. So in any business, you're going to have associated costs. For example, if you're selling something for £100 and your customer pays you £100, you don't profit £100 because the cost of goods, cost of manufacturing, cost of delivery, cost of shipping need to be factored in as your associated costs. So now, specific to serviced accommodation, you have to make sure you are factoring in your cleaning cost, your check-in cost, your credit card processing fees, your OTA fees, your commission fees. There are a number of costs. So these are the most important ones, 4 and 5, because they're the financials, and then they encourage you to negotiate with your landlord, agent or developer. But number this and this, so number 1 and number 3 are what are going to help you determine what's going on in your area. Then you can use that for number 4, you can factor in number 5, and that helps you with your negotiation in number 2. I really hope that was beneficial, and I really can't wait to help you start your service accommodation business. I look forward to working with you. See you soon. Bye-bye.